Hello and welcome. Today I wanted to draw some toads. I had in my mind a picture of what I wanted to draw. I wanted to end up drawing a cargo toad, so some sort of saddle or basket on his back. But to get started, I actually just needed to practice drawing the animals themselves. While I do some of my beginning sketches, kind of practicing some of the details on toads, I'd also like to talk about how this experience was kind of different from some of the other times I've had an idea of something I want to draw. Normally, when I have the idea of something to draw, it's kind of vague, like the rough idea or feeling that I want to go for. But I don't really have it much more planned out than that. I can't really like envision it perfectly in my head all the time. And so after messing around with sketching it a few times, I'll settle on something that's kind of close to it, but usually like different in some way that I initially imagined. Usually I think this is because I just don't have the technical ability to execute exactly how I envision it. But even aside from that, what I'm picturing is often not accurate with how stuff actually just looks. And this is just kind of a thing to do with imagination. I'm sure that over time I'll get better at that, kind of like envisioning how something will look and then actually executing on it. But for now, whenever I picture something in my mind, it usually turns out very different when I go to actually draw it. This time, though, I kind of had the rough idea of how I wanted it to look. I just wanted to do a simple side view of the toad, have a basket on his back, and then have some big, like, kind of swampy looking plants coming out of the basket with some pink flowers at the end. And I kind of had this rough idea of it in my head, of kind of how I wanted all the shapes to look. And this time it actually turned out almost exactly how I thought it would, at least as far as base shapes go. Coloring wise, I still have a long ways to go. I mean, the video hasn't caught up to where I start coloring yet, but once I get there, maybe you'll see. I kind of just slapped on some base colors and stuck with them. I didn't really think about it too hard or try to make it look non-flat because I was kind of just happy with how he had turned out already. Just the fact that the design was where I wanted it to be. I mean, and it was simple enough, just a small saddle. But I don't know. Yeah, it was pretty satisfying to just like kind of picture how I wanted it to be, and it actually just turned out exactly like that. It was a good feeling. One thing I will say, or at least as far as execution goes, and taking note of this for the future, the patterns that I was doing for the net and the basket were very similar, or actually turned out being very similar at the scale I was drawing. Next time I do something like this, since I'm not planning on really drawing anything else after this, I should have just blown up the frog early on and maybe gone over it one more time so that it's in higher quality so that I could add a little bit more detail to the actual texture of the basket. So that's just a good note for the future, like so that I'm able to add a little bit more detail to the basket's texture. Because that's something else I want to practice is just being able to add textures to things. Um, Doing surfaces that aren't, flat. It also might have allowed me to do more detail on the actual like net part of the saddle, but I was more happy with that part. I was fine with that. So yeah, hopefully in some of my other drawings in the near future, I'll be working on more textures, just trying to imagine and envision things before I actually draw them so I can start building up that muscle of visualization. And I guess just having a good time because this was pretty fun. I like drawing the toads, even though some of them are a little ugly, not gonna lie. But yeah, that's about all I had to share for today. Hope you enjoyed and have a good one. Peace.